All right, welcome to the Sushi Onsen AMA, where we host projects that have partnered through the Onsen program and give them a platform to reach a larger audience. Today, we have members from Secret Network with us. Thanks for coming out, John.
Thank you for having us.
So, John,
And I guess
oh, sorry, go
we,
ahead.
yeah, I guess we also have Tor from the foundation,
Oh,
so I think
gotcha,
we can just
gotcha.
like do it together.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for
Yep.
coming out, Tor, as well. So my understanding of Secret Network is it's sort of like a layer two or a side chain um, privacy solution. Do you want to sort of give like an overview of what it is and what you guys are building out?
Sure. Um, so Secret Network is its own blockchain based on Cosmos SDK. So I mean, it has 10 limit consensus. And what we have built is, and I believe we're the first and the only one who's doing it on mainnet right now, is privacy preserving smart contracts by using trusted execution environments. And like as to like sidechain layer one, layer two, I think our well technically secret network is a layer one, but from more of a um, kind of ethos perspective, we we care about delivering privacy to existing blockchain communities, and Ethereum is the biggest community, so we are supporting Ethereum and Ethereum assets. So that kind of does make us like a side chain, but that's kind of the I don't see a very clear distinction among the two.
Yeah, I got you. I got you. And um, it's interesting. I was curious. Have you guys at Secret looked at Polkadot at all? Like trying to run like a parachain set up for Polkadot in that sense?
We did. Actually, Secret Network used to be Enigma. If there are people who have been in the ecosystem long enough, they may remember. And initially, we're trying to build our own chain, our own consensus mechanism, our own P2P network. And we figured that really our value add to the ecosystem is not a new consensus or P2P consensus algorithm or a P2P layer, but actually to bring privacy preserving computation. So around last year, a bit more than a year ago, around last February, we decided to kind of build on one of the existing consensus methods or platforms, and we had two options: Cosmos and Polkadot. And at the time, we decided to go with Cosmos instead of Polkadot because, I mean, Cosmos was more robust at the time, but also I think like Cosmos gives you more independence compared to Polkadot, as in like you can upgrade things independently in Cosmos without being tied to a main chain, etc. So those were important things for me. Short term, I don't see us building something on Polkadot immediately. Rather, we are focusing on bridging to the Polkadot ecosystem. There's a project called Plasm that is a parachain, and we actually have a bridge with them in our test nets. So that's how we explore to get involved in the Polkadot ecosystem.
Gotcha, gotcha. That's pretty interesting. And also, just wanted to make this clear to everybody. This is totally open, so if anybody has any questions, feel free to try to indicate that you have a question, or you could also
Yeah.
like tag me in the general chat to let me know or something like that. Um, but one question I wanted to ask you guys is sort of when you guys were originally Enigma, sort of like what brought about the creation of Enigma, and sort of what does Enigma still exist as a group, or is it just the secret network now? What was that sort of uh, transitory phase like?
Yeah. Um, Yeah, I'll get into it. Great question. I also want to acknowledge that my colleague Ruven is also on the chat. So, technical questions, Ruven, feel free to jump in. And fun fact, Ruven has a very colorful parrot, guys, who may start singing in the middle of this.
Wow.
Um, in terms of formation, Enigma was a research project at MIT. The Enigma white paper was initially released in 2015, and the goal was to bring privacy or private computations to blockchains using multi-party computation. And I'm one of the co-founders at Enigma, and my co-founder Guy is the author of that paper. We formed the company in 2016, and we tried doing some enterprise uh, faced development in that year, but and then went the open source route. The thing that we realized was, like, MPC, while very cool theoretically and whatnot, is very very hard to build for certain applications, or like for a broad use case, right? You could do something that's very very specific with MPC, and that's what like Keep is doing with their TBTC. But we really believe that privacy is able to bring a lot of usability to the blockchain ecosystem, and we do not want to limit ourselves into a single use case because the underlying tech is cool and the math is cool. So that was like one switch for us to do, like from MPC to trusted execution environments, like back in 2000, I would say 18, and then recently we rebrand as Secret Network. And really, Secret Network is, and Tor can speak more to this, is a decentralized ecosystem which does not depend on Enigma. Enigma still remains as a company, and Enigma is doing the core development in Secret Network, similar to like Electric Coin Company with Zcash. But Secret Network ecosystem is much bigger than Enigma, and maybe Tor, you can speak to that a bit.
Yeah, it's an extremely decentralized ecosystem now, and that's not only by necessity, but also we consider it to be a massive advantage to have, such a great group of developers supporting at the core protocol level. But now seeing our application system emerge, so we've had applications like secret swaps launch, secret auctions launch, Sienna Network launching, a lot of other applications either in development, a lot of other bridges in development, because community members can also contribute network tooling and bridges as well. So the role of Secret Foundation in the ecosystem, which is the organization that I work at, we aim to help steward the growth of the entire Secret Network ecosystem, from the protocol layer to the nodes to the application layer. We work directly with committee leads, many of whom are on this call right now, who help steward community committees, including the Awareness Committee, the Education Committee, the Development Committee, the Business Development Committee, the Infrastructure Committee. Everything there's a million ways for community members to get directly involved with the growth of the project, either as a committee lead or as sort of a more generalized secret agent. We have a very, very large community because a lot of them have been with the project since 2017. Many of them run nodes, many of them build applications themselves. So if you're somebody listening to this who's looking for projects to get involved in, and you want to actually have ownership of the ecosystem as opposed to being a glorified brand ambassador, this is definitely the project for you, and definitely the opportunities exist all over our ecosystem to become not only a meaningful contributor, but capture a lot of the value that we're helping create. And the foundation is here to help you get onboarded with that, and make sure that you connect with projects and applications that you want to build and use.
Yeah, that's you guys actually have like a really really interesting program going on with like the secret agent program. I don't know if you guys want to talk about that a little bit, but sort of what I understand of it is like you have like community scheduled like calls, like open public calls that people can join to like basically get educated on different aspects of the project.
Yeah. Um, so we have a number of committee leads here, including, let's see, I see Brendan, I see Darren, I see John, I see Sandy, I see Superfish. So the awesome thing is that you, as leads, community members themselves are taking ownership for these committees, and then any secret agent can contribute to any open project as part of these committees. There's funding available, grant funding and foundation funding for agents who want to suggest projects, complete projects on behalf of the ecosystem. We have a $60 million ecosystem pool that goes towards ecosystem growth initiatives. So there's a ton of opportunities to get your ideas funded as well. Yeah, I don't know, Brendan, maybe you want to say a couple words really quick about like the work that, or Darren, either of you or both of you, the work you've been doing to build out the agent headquarters and to onboard more people into the program. How many agents do we have now? Something like 300?
Yeah, it's probably close to 350 now, I think.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
we're
pretty
getting there.
impressive.
And like one of our agents, I'm not sure if he's an agent, but someone in our community through these grants that Tor was mentioning, built the specs for privacy preserving NFTs. I think we can like loop back and talk a bit more about what the network does in a bit. But like this with this privacy preserving NFTs, we have private metadata, and like we can build games like you buy a pack of cards, you don't know what you're gonna get, and then you battle your cards with someone and you don't know what their cards are. And we're actually hacking that this weekend at NFT Hack by Eat Global.
All right, cool. I'll keep my eye out for the secret Pokemon clone. um, but okay. Well, first, before I stomp over anybody, is there anybody who wants to ask a question? I don't want to steamroll over anybody. Okay, then I will go ahead with my question. To get to some of the technical details of the project, do you wanna I forget who the person was that's the technical lead, but do you wanna go into sort of the details of sort of like how the bridge works between Ethereum and the secret network, and then, a little bit further in on how the privacy technology works, and, like, I guess maybe compare it against something like ZK Snark potentially or something else?
I'm guessing you're referring to me. Hi,
Yeah,
I'm
whoever the
Bruce.
technical lead is, sorry.
Yeah, sure. I'm not the technical lead. I'm one of the developers. So just to introduce myself, I'm one of the Enigma developers, as John explained before. We're the core team working on the secret network. So specifically about the bridge, honestly, it's a very simple multi-sig setup. We have currently it's 5 nodes where we operate one of them, and 4 other nodes are run by our partners in the ecosystem. Uh, I actually don't remember, but Figment, Bee Harvest, Staked, and another one. Sorry for forgetting you.
Citadel.
Citadel. Thank you. Um, and what happens is they just monitor what happens on 2 smart contracts, one on Ethereum and one on the secret network. And whenever someone sends money to those contracts, calls a function on those contracts to convert their money, convert their coins from Ethereum assets to secret network assets, those assets get locked on one side, and assets are either minted on the secret network. Say you lock assets on Ethereum, we mint equivalent assets on the secret network, and on the way back, you send your tokens to the bridge contract. Those tokens get burned, and in exchange, we release tokens on the Ethereum side.
Yeah.
That's again, it's a very simple setup. The interesting part is that those tokens minted on the secret network are secret tokens. So transactions with those tokens are completely private. Your balance of those tokens is private. To the extent that you shuffle them around a bit, right? Because the bridge activity is public, but say you start moving that money around between different accounts, that's completely untractable. Only
So
you or
actually,
like permissions to can see that.
actually, so I don't think what you say is entirely accurate, because when I move my say sushi to secret network, no one
Mhm.
knows. And then if I from then move back to Ethereum, no one would see the link between my 2 Ethereum addresses. If that's it's like a simple way of
If
using the
you're
bridge.
Yeah, so what you said isn't fully accurate. If you're only looking at Ethereum, then that's correct. But as soon as you start looking at what's going on the secret network, you can see that you know certain addresses interact with the bridge at certain times, and there's ways of analyzing that activity. So it's not like 100% secure, but as soon as you just move your assets to a different secret network address, the link is completely broken.
Yeah, I mean, there's also, so again, like the very trivial use of the bridge is like go over and back, but that's not the intended use of the bridge. The intended use of the Ethereum bridge is to help you get your Ethereum assets into the secret DeFi ecosystem where a product ecosystem is emerging. So this is where secret swap lives. This is where secret auctions live. These different types of liquidity products where you can turn your secret tokens into any other secret token. So for example, you can move your Ethereum over the bridge to receive secret Ethereum. Then you go and you swap your secret Ethereum for secret WBTC on Secret Swap. And then you move your secret WBTC back over the bridge to a fresh Ethereum address. And now you have WBTC back on Ethereum. Or in the future, you just leave your WBTC on Secret Network. You use it as collateral within a privacy preserving credit application. Or again, like you auction it off. Like the more utilities that for secret tokens built on Secret Network, the better for anonymity. It's sort of the anonymity set then scales to all of the liquidity in the network. The more liquidity there is between assets on the network, because you could be trading your asset for any other asset and then moving these assets around Secret Network in various different forms. So that's why we care so much about liquidity on Secret Network, because it helps to protect users. It helps with security, but there's also front running protections from using applications on Secret because the contracts operate with encrypted state. We can get into like all of that, but yeah, there's definitely ways to do things better if what you're mostly concerned about is privacy. But if what you're mostly concerned about is like security, usability, etc., like you get a lot of that basically for free by utilizing Secret Network for most of your purposes.
And
Yep, that's pretty much it.
I would assume that with sort of the elimination of front running, it would also eliminate, I am assuming, all of sort of minor extracted value as well. Is that
True.
true?
Yes. Can I actually take us like a step back and give a higher level overview for people who may not be like aware with
Yeah.
like how certain thing works?
Yeah, absolutely,
Cool.
man.
Okay, so as I was referring to in the beginning, our innovation is privacy preserving smart contracts. Like, what does that mean on a technical level? When you're interacting with a contract as a user, you are, say, you're going to do a swap from asset A to asset B for amount X. And when you're interacting with the contract, all the inputs, which are asset A, asset B, and how much you want to trade, are encrypted locally. So when you're signing a transaction with MetaMask, we don't have MetaMask, but it's the equivalent, you encrypt things locally on your machine, and the encrypted inputs actually travel or go to the network. So in the mempool, you only have encrypted inputs. As a result, you eliminate minor extractable value because no one can see what you're trying to do and try to front run your transaction or reorder things. And I'm gonna keep the cryptography high level, but happy to go into if people are interested. Then what happens is each validator who is running a node with a trusted execution environment are able to take those encrypted inputs from the mempool, and these encrypted inputs are sent to their trusted execution environment. And if you're not familiar with that, it's a separate enclave inside the machine where which even the operator of the node cannot access. It's Intel SGX, for those of you who may know. And the inputs are decrypted inside this enclave, inside every single node. The computations are done within the enclave on plain data, and nodes then commit on chain hashes of these computations. Hashes are deterministic, so all nodes, 50 of them, can come to consensus on those hashes without leaking any information about what the computation is and what the results are. And once there is consensus on chain based on the hashes, then as in a Tendermint consensus, then the state updates, and we have a next round of computations. So keeping smart or secret contracts this way, we can have encrypted inputs, encrypted states, and encrypted outputs. So that's kind of how you eliminate the concept of front running. My colleague spoke about this secret tokens. Secret tokens are more or less identical to ERC20. So it's a smart contract based token issuance platform, but similarly, based on these privacy properties, when you are interacting with these token contracts, what you're sending, to whom you're sending, all these details are obfuscated from the entire network, from the mempool, from the validators. And the way in which we're trying to support other blockchain ecosystems with the bridges that we're building, we have one to Ethereum right now. I see there's a question about layer twos, maybe in the future. We have one Binance Smart Chain bridge coming up. But the idea is when a user bridges their assets to Secret Network using these bridges, the idea is we mint privacy tokens for them. So if you bridge your sushi, you end up having secret sushi, which is wrapped sushi with privacy on Secret Network. And then once you have that, you can do transactions, use that in applications, as Tor mentioned, tap into some yield opportunities, etc., etc. So that's kind of how things work on a high level.
All right, gotcha. And for when the nodes are processing and publishing like the hashes, is it just a majority consensus among the nodes?
Yeah, it's Tendermint is 2/3 consensus on a delegated proof of stake.
2/3. Okay, cool, cool, cool. And thank you for also touching on what SGX is, because that was actually a question I wanted to ask because I saw that in the docs and I had no understanding of what SGX was. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Um, Also, I was curious, sort of like how scalable the network is. Like, what is the sort of like TPS that the secret network can handle?
I think Ruben would know this better than I do.
Yeah, so we don't have exact figures. It really depends on what kind of transactions are happening. But in testing, we have seen like thousands of simple transactions in a block. Um, Although currently we chose to intentionally limit the size of blocks to 10 million gas units. Um, but we do expect that as load increases in the future, we will allow more gas usage. But in theory, again, we've seen the network handle pretty high loads without too much trouble.
Gotcha. And is there what is the reasoning there behind the gas limit on the block? Um,
To be honest, I'm not sure. I wasn't behind that decision specifically. It's just something that I feel was important to point out.
okay,
Um,
gotcha. That's interesting. Is it possible that like
just to clarify,
is it
it's a very high
linear?
limit.
Is it
Just to clarify,
linear
we've not had a
gas?
block that was close to it.
Sorry,
Sorry,
say that again. So you're fine. Say, go ahead.
sorry. I wanted to just clarify, we've not even had a block that was close to this limit. It's a pretty high. It's a pretty high limit.
I see.
I believe
Okay.
we put it in like just to prevent denial of service attacks and
Mhm.
stuff like that.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. And for gas, this might come across as a very, very stupid question. Just warning. For gas usage on the secret network, is it linear? Is it like a simple like a send? Uses X amount of gas, and then like as as the number of operations increase, it's linear with the amount of gas I'm using, or is it like when I'm doing is it trying to
It is.
compare it against like the gas scaling of Ethereum? Uh,
So it is linear, yes. Contract storage is also linear, unlike Ethereum. Everything is linear.
okay, gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah, I think right now, like a fee to swap tokens in Secret Network, I believe, is around 10 cents US cents of gas. Um, when you want to bridge your assets to come to Secret Network, it's I think like for sushi, you would need to do an approval transaction as if you're sending sushi, and then bridging the assets to Secret Network is a simple transaction, which costs like 40,000 gas or so, and then bridging the assets back from Secret Network to Ethereum costs around like 300,000 gas, and that's because there's a multi-sig transaction. It's like not a single transaction, which makes it a bit more expensive. But like overall round trip using the bridge for privacy is like 35% the cost of Tornado Cash, which is the only good private solution at the moment.
Yeah, gotcha, gotcha. Tornado Cash is as yeah, like the only sort of directly targeting privacy solution right now on Ethereum. Um, in terms of sort of um, more technical understanding of the encryption, uh, is it possible to compare what you guys are doing on the secret network with ZK Snarks, or are they just totally different techniques that it's hard to use either as a comparison?
I mean, on a high level, it's a different methodology. Like ZK snarks achieve privacy by zero knowledge circuits. That means like it's pure math. In our situation, we use a combination of symmetric encryption and this hardware solution. And I guess like the trade-offs are. Like the main trade-off is and like this like Aztec is just launching and I think they're doing a great job as a like a layer 2 ZK rollup. I think like some problems are coding in zero knowledge circuits is not uh, is not like regular coding. You're basically coding a math operation to do the proofs, whereas coding for something that goes into a trusted hardware execution is similar to like regular coding, and this is like a very layman's explanation. So I think one problem that we're going to see with ZK based solutions and like Aztec is it's going to be very hard for people to learn how to code these applications. And I think one thing we've seen from the success of Ethereum, emergence of all these DeFi protocols is actually having a community that can iterate fast and innovate is very, very important. So I think that's like one kind of trade-off that I see between the two solutions. But some people have doubts about hardware solutions. So, like technically speaking, zero knowledge solutions are cleaner from like a pure math perspective, but it also takes longer time to build. So I think it's like the way I see it is a trade-off between usability of privacy, like how fast you want to go and things like that, versus how pure you want to be in terms of like mathematical proofs and all that. But if you have more specific questions as to how the coding is different or like things like that, we can spend more time on this.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I was also curious, what is the language that smart contracts are written for the secret network?
We use Rust,
Rust, gotcha.
which compiles into WebAssembly. It's the same code base more or less with Terra. So there's this smart contracting module in Cosmos. So in the Cosmos ecosystem, everything is a module, and you add these modules to your chain. So we've taken Cosm Wasm, which is the Rust-based contract language, and Reuven did most of the work there, and became a core contributor to that project along the way. But we were able to run that module inside the enclave. So that's how it works.
That was a really fun part of the project. Gotta be honest here. Yeah,
Super low level.
definitely.
And that's in the SGX is what you're talking about there with the enclave?
Yes, the SGX component allows you to run enclaves, basically.
And that's like a protected like inner layer that is running computations where the outside user can't access the actual data in there.
Yeah, not an outside user, not the operating system, not the motherboard, even nothing outside the CPU.
Okay, and so that's a I'm assuming that's hardware. That's like actually built into the Intel chip.
It is, yes.
Okay, okay, that's interesting. That's cool. I've never heard of that. Did anybody have any questions? I always feel like I steamroll over people.
I think someone asked about layer twos, so maybe like it's worth touching on
Yeah.
that real quick. Um, Technically speaking, like we can extend the current bridge we have into any EVM chain, and we also, and Ruben, maybe you can talk about it in a bit briefly. We also extended this to build bridges to Cosmos bridges pre IBC. I think with regards to whether we would prioritize an L2 solution, I I don't know. It seems like less of a priority. I don't know like how much value is locked in L2s right now, but if it changes significantly over the future, then yes. But I think like one thing to consider is like going to L2 is almost like going to secret network. So I feel like at that point, people can choose to come to our network to get privacy as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, for running and operating a node, what are the sort of requirements to do that? Are there like technical uh, requirements in terms of like skills I need, or is it just some sort of monetary requirement for a stake plus having a computer? What are the steps there?
Well, there are cloud options like in Microsoft where you can download a node that's running on Azure with a single click. So that requires like very minimal, like you do need to know some CLI, but it requires very, very minimal technical involvement. And there are some people in our ecosystem who runs their nodes and data centers, and that's like, a whole operation that they take care of. So I don't really know. With regards to the network, we have a delegated proof of stake system, so people can delegate to you. I think the network is fully maxed out at the moment, but I don't know what the minimum like amount is right now to qualify to run a node.
I think the minimum amount based on what I'm seeing here is 5 secret tokens. There's Azure secret running a node with 5 secret tokens.
Oh, okay. Yeah, perfect. So then, like the entry is barrier is very low at the moment.
Yeah, it's pretty. Is that like normal? Because there's 48 nodes active. I wasn't sure if like I just
Oh,
looked at it at a time where maybe 2 people like turned off their nodes and then one person was like, "Ooh, I can run a node now."
yeah.
Or
I think there are a couple that are inactive. Like looking at the list, I know some of these have like hundreds of thousands of secret, but for some reason they must have gone offline.
I got you. So right now it's a limited chance opportunity to run a node for a cheap amount.
Yeah, and we're trying to get a system where we formalize how we delegate to community members, whether that's people who are building on us, where that's people who are running these committees that Tor and Ben were highlighting, and as such. So if you are a node runner and if you're interested, would be happy to chat more.
And how does the commission work for node operators? Because I see that like it's sort of all over the place with different nodes. Like some have 0%, some have 10%, some have in between.
It's up to the nodes to set that amount, and the idea is right now I think there's more than 30% annual yields for secret stakers. And what happens is, so if I'm like, say the yield is 30%, and if I'm delegating with a node that has set 10% commission, then like 3% goes to the node operator, and it's up to people to choose it. And some people go lower to get more delegation.
Okay, gotcha. And is that 30%? Is that a number that is like voted on by governance?
So it is subject to change by governance. And what happens is, so the inflation ranges between 7 to 15% based on how much of the token supply is staked. Right now, we're below 2/3 of the network, so it's at the top level. If we were to have 100% staking, the yearly inflation would go to 7 over time. So we have 15% inflation on a network level, but only like 50% of the available SCRT is staked at the moment. There's a bunch on Binance, which we're trying really hard to pull out from. So because half of the tokens are staked, uh, only half of the token holders are getting that 15%. So you're effectively getting 30%.
I see. Okay, okay, gotcha. Yeah. Okay, that's really interesting. Where like if when more people are staking, it adjusts the inflation rate. Um, it's a pretty cool mechanic. How is that? Is that like on a per block, like every single block it's evaluating that number, or is that sort of some moves in like steps over a gradient?
I think it's on a per block basis, but Ruben, I would want you to confirm
Can
this.
can you repeat the question, please? I'm not sure I understood.
Yeah, when the inflation rewards adjust based on the number of secret staked, is that
Mhm.
on a per block, or is there some gradient to that where it adjusts over a time period?
I believe it's per block, but don't take it with a grain of salt. I'm not
Okay, no
100%
worries. Yeah.
sure.
It's
It-
hey
It's
guys.
it's
Oh, sorry. This is Brendan here. I run one of the nodes and have looked at that significantly. It's a sliding scale. There's a parameter in the SDK that is governable. That is max inflation rate change per year. So you can govern how fast the inflation rate will adjust to the lower or the higher end. Um, I think the max rate change right now is set at 8% per year, and that represents kind of that entire um, range from 7% to 15%. But it is adjusting every block. So to go from the high end 15%, which we're at right now, to that low end of 7%, it would theoretically take an entire year to get there with the parameters set as they are now.
I got you. I got you. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you, Brendan, for chiming in with that. Very appreciated.
Yes, thanks. Like this sort of stuff is more related to the Cosmos SDK, which we're building on. So I'm not fully sure about the exact details of everything.
Yeah, and I just wanted to ask about this. Uh, because I saw this post about CeFi from from Secret. Is this like their? So I haven't. I'm sorry, I haven't had a chance to actually read this article, but I'm a little confused. Is it saying that there's going to be a new governance token?
Yes. So we launched an AMM on our network, pretty similar to Sushi. And so the the value add of this AMM is, as we discussed earlier, it's front running resistant. So users don't lose money to miners. And we're launching in, I believe, almost 2 weeks, a governance token that we call CFI. And a lot of inspiration from Sushi came to the design of that token.
Okay,
Uh,
gotcha.
Yeah, the idea is like if you're an LP in certain pools, you will receive CFI, similar to the farms and onsens you have. We're adding this method where also traders are receiving some CFI rewards through like the more your transaction volume you add, the a portion of CFI rewards you get.
Yeah,
And
that's a great idea.
yeah, because I think it's interesting to also keep the transaction volume high. That's also a KPI for us. And then in the future we're looking to add ideas like onsens and doing like double rewards, etc.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I know the like trader rewards is something that people at Sushi were like earlier on. I think we were there were discussions about stuff like that, like like trader competitions for like the most active wallets or whatever. But yeah, it's cool to see that
Yeah.
even if you're just trading, you still earn some governance token.
Yeah, because also it's important to in AMMs, trading is important to keep the price in line with the price we see on the markets or on the centralized exchanges. So there is some value in providing benefit to traders,
Yeah,
and
you're
also like
maintaining Oracle
yeah,
essentially.
exactly. And when trading is only 10 cents, it becomes interesting compared to like paying a ton of gas for it.
Awesome. Well, I'm sort of racking my brain trying to think of things that I've missed or failed to cover. If you guys know of any topics that I've just totally skipped over, feel free to bring them up. And anybody who has a question as well.
Yeah. I think one thing to mention is there is, as you mentioned in the beginning, there's an onsen going on right now. We're also adding 10,000 wrap secret, which is the ERC20 version of secret token, to that pool every week. We just did a and like the first edition on Tuesday, a couple of days ago. So that also gives some APY to the LPs of that onsen. Like 10,000, the wrap secret is around like $30,000, give or take. So if anyone here is interested in yields and liquidity, you could provide liquidity there, and then that would be your introduction to secrets, and then you could use our bridge in the future to get privacy for your assets.
Did you put Wrapped Secret in an onsen pool?
Yeah.
With
So
so like you paired it with some Ethereum or some other token?
no, actually, there's a function called sync, which you can do to give single-sided liquidity. Just add to the pool. You don't get any LPs tokens for that. It's just like a
Oh, I see. Okay.
yeah. I believe Rune Torchain did that earlier with you guys to alleviate impermanent loss in a couple of the Rune pools that they had. So we were talking to Hiro Ono, who pointed us to the right places in the code base for us to do it. But I hear very soon you are upgrading the Onsen such that this, like, we can add WSecret to the Onsen and it could be distributed every block like the sushi is, or like you can like accumulate it every block like you accumulate sushi.
When Onsen V2 is eventually rolled out, it should be it's exciting that you're in talks about sort of that dual reward staking.
Yep, indeed.
In terms of dApps that are being developed, I know we just talked about, is it called CeFi? Is that the the swap platform that is being made? Basically my question was gonna be, what other dApps and projects do you guys know of that are in development right now for the secret network?
Tor, do you want to take this?
Heck yeah. Yes, I do. So CeFi is a native governance token for SecretSwap. SecretSwap is the name of the first AMM that's been deployed on the network, but it's not the only dApp that's been deployed on the network. So like we were saying at the beginning, Secret Network is a layer one. It is a smart contract platform. So all of these applications can be deployed on Secret, an AMM just being one of the basic ones. Secret tokens technically themselves are a form of dApp because they are just contracts that are deployed on the network, and then you use them inside of the AMM. So all of these applications built on Secret are both privacy by default, but also composable. So beyond SecretSwap, there's also a number of teams that are developing liquidity-focused applications. So we already have Secret Auctions live on mainnet. There's a great web app that was developed for you to use it, where you can auction any secret token for any other secret token. There's the Sienna Network team, which is building on top of the network also privacy-focused DeFi applications, including their own AMM, but also looking into lending products. We have a lot of teams that are looking into credit and lending, new bridges like to Monero and Bitcoin itself. We have, it just really depends what you consider a dApp. The important thing here is that, Secret Network is the protocol level, and all of these things are branches that come out of that protocol level. And at the protocol level, we're the only blockchain that's doing things as private by default. That's the key differentiator. So if you are a developer who has an idea for how to build in that design space, it's a super powerful and very underexplored design space. And by building on Secret Network, you get it by default for everything that you build. So we have a grants program that's primarily resourced by our ecosystem pool. Our ecosystem pool has about $60 million worth of grants available presently. That's not all going to be deployed immediately, right? This is sort of like long-term funding for the network. It's primarily denominated in SCRT itself, the native coin of the network. But for devs that are looking for early stage non-dilutive funding, this is an amazing option to kind of get bootstrapped and get started hacking on these sorts of things that we think will be critical for the network, with the confidence that anything you build will be composable with the other applications that have already emerged on top of the network and will continue to emerge.
Yeah, and I was curious if you had any sort of long-term visions of like type of applications, like business or consumer applications that would need a privacy blockchain layer. I guess like when I really try to think about it, like I'm thinking like there's probably like a lot of healthcare possible applications in terms of data usage that could have application. Also, like obviously financial applications. But sort of, what are the biggest fields and sort of opportunities do you think for privacy application layers?
I mean, there's inside the blockchain space and there's outside. I'll talk about a little bit inside, but I know John has done also a lot of work on like more enterprise applications in the past. The path that I see Secret Network going is really the path that most other successful layer one chains have gone, which is they find a massive hole to fill within the existing Web3 blockchain space. Like, for example, Chainlink is filling massive holes within DeFi with Oracle solutions, but it
Hmm.
turns out Oracle solutions are also hugely important for any enterprise that would need to bring off-chain data into an on-chain environment if they want to interact with it. But they started by getting substantial adoption for their technology via existing Web3 protocols. So our path is really the same. Like where we see the immediate opportunities with blockchains and Web3 is things like DeFi, is things like NFT and private ownership, things like access control, things like gaming in particular that I know John is also exploring and he'll be hacking on this weekend. Some NFT use cases within gaming where we're extremely well suited because in games there is imperfect information between parties, and you do want things to be composable. So that's within blockchain. But all of this just lays the foundation for adoption in the longer term from enterprises and institutions that have these types of secure data sharing use cases or private computation use cases. John, I don't know if you want to focus on any in particular, just sort of laying out that that's more of a long-term vision for the network where we're still laying the foundation.
Yeah, I think honestly, like enterprises are not a thing in the next 5 years because like enterprises don't really benefit from being on a public blockchain. So I think that's a bit of overhype. I think there's value long term about private computations, but like blockchain adoption will come from business to consumers, whether it's DeFi, whether it's NFTs and all that. Things I am interested in. I think like a front running DeFi is important. Also, and this is a long term future. But if we're trying to get more institutions or like more structured money to come into DeFi to get to like trillions of value locked in DeFi, I think we'll need to address concerns of more institutional money sources, which are privacy, which are compliant. So I think those are interesting areas for me, but I don't see like anyone making any moves there in the next year or two, really. The concept of NFTs are interesting to me in terms of private metadata, because right now everything you do with NFTs on Ethereum is deterministic. But like the concept of like buying a pack of cards, buying booster packs, loot boxes, I think that's very, very ripe for the gaming industry to adopt. And that's one thing I'll be hacking this weekend. So that's something I'm interested about. Tor touched on the concept of data sharing. So as you know, protocols like Ocean and etc. are getting more and more traction with like selling data in a peer-to-peer fashion. I think privacy is really key in these kind of applications because like if you're selling data to someone on a blockchain, it's like you can't really do it in a smart contract, because if you put the data on a smart contract, everyone sees what the data is, so I don't need to buy it. And if not, like do you add a trust factor, which is not blockchains are meant for. But with secret network, you can build things like you either add the data to the state, which is encrypted, or you add the data to IPFS and add a decryption key to the state, which would be encrypted and which would only be shared with the buyers when a payment is done. So I think that's going to be huge for any kind of like content monetization in Web3, which we're more likely to see because it's more a business to consumer thing rather than just going healthcare. I don't really believe healthcare coming into any kind of public blockchain in the next 10 years. But private computations would be
In the
cool.
next 10 years?
Yeah.
That's a long time frame.
But the thing is, because like the things that need to change are like regulatory and political things, and I just like don't see industries that are that robust. Like they may have shared databases among themselves, which are encrypted and stuff, but like they're not gonna go on a public blockchain. Like your health records will never be on a public blockchain, I believe.
Well, that may be true. That may be true, but it could be a private blockchain.
Yeah, a private blockchain with encryption, yes, like it could be the case, and maybe like the future is a multi-chain world where private blockchains can submit signatures to public blockchains to verify things. Like that could become interesting if you have say a private blockchain of 5 banks who are doing like syndicated loans. And like once the loan thing is approved on the private blockchain with all the like details hidden, they can mint a token and sell it to DeFi to raise money. But like I guess my skepticism comes from the fact that there are too many layers of workflows and like disgusting regulations and bureaucracies that need to change. Like there's a reason why we don't have any business adoption besides just like proof of concept quorums for the past like quorum has been around since 2016, and like I don't think there's anything like production level with quorum, which is the Ethereum like enterprise Ethereum blockchain. It will come, but it will take time.
I'll be waiting for the day that I I order my medication over Ethereum on Medicine Swap or whatever.
Cheers to that. I would be very excited to see that happen.
But if I have not missed any major topics that you guys can think of, and if nobody else has any questions or things that they want to bring up, I think this is getting close to a good place to wrap it up. Yeah, did anybody have any topics or things that they wanted to bring up or anything they wanted to say?
I have one question, if it's possible.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Regarding obviously Cardano, I know this is a completely off of a different blockchain, but Cardano's approach, obviously, for the longest time has been doing academic peer-reviewed papers. Is there any talk about doing something for that, for Secret, in terms of obviously the use cases, the applications for future enterprise level, like some of you have mentioned, but obviously that's in the future, or even anything in the space right now with Sienna, with lending. I imagine the academic peer-reviewed paper could hold some weight for bigger hands in the financial space. Is that something that's been talked about?
Well, we have a very academic white paper from 2015, which does not fully capture what we've built today. No, there are no plans of doing that at the moment. I'm like academic papers are cool in terms of like protocol level design, like consensus mechanisms. If we're doing like multi-party computations, like that would be like somewhere to do an academic paper. But like in terms of consensus, we're using Tendermint, which is an academic paper that was an improvement on PBFT. And then in terms of like encryption, like the things that we're using are like things that people have used in the past. So there's no plans at the moment. There are things like yellow papers that some community members put together, but like what we just decided to build rather than writing a paper.
Got it. I guess the only reason why I bring that up more now than ever is because the volume of the amount of addresses being created every single day, new people getting into the space, the buzz, it just feels like 2017 all over again. And
Yes.
what is there to for people to kind of do their due diligence and make sure that whatever they're invested in or spending all their time researching, it's actually done with purpose and with some credibility on the back end of it too. So
No, I hear you, and I think that's a great point. I think like we've been live on mainnet with these secret contracts more than 6-7 months. The bridge has been functional for 3-4 months, so things are working. But in terms of how to like, let me ask you something. Like, what would you like to see? Because like, do you personally go through white papers? Because in 2017 there were a lot of white papers, but like no projects, and most of the white papers didn't turn into reality. So I'm curious, like, what would help you, for example?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the the way information is spread today is much different than it was back, just 3 years ago. I think the Telegram communities have been the source of everyone's community buzz, and white papers are just kind of the boilerplate for most blockchains now. Um, but for me, I guess, and I'm not speaking just for everybody, but for me personally, I do find it more empowering to talk to or to hear Tor and people on the and you as well, Khan, I believe your name is, but to understand what your background is, your pedigree, and also where you came from. And I think I mentioned this to Tor before, but like having more of a personal voice to every single blockchain out there, and also not being so discreet about it, um, is to me where the next step will go into an adoption phase, maybe, where people do buy in based on a influence or a metric of influence within the space. Not, I mean, obviously, Vitalik is one, but who's the next one that comes to mind, right? If it's Cardano, great. But I'm just saying, how does that play
I have some
into?
perspectives on this.
Yeah,
I am not a huge fan of the Philosopher King approach to scaling protocols. I don't even think Vitalik is a big fan of the Philosopher King approach to scaling protocols. I'm a huge fan of like what Thorchain's approach has really been, where it is completely like community driven, bottom up. They do it more with like pseudonymity for founders, and like that keeps the focus on the technology and the protocol, which is rightly where it should be. The technology needs to work not because Charles Hoskinson says so, or even if like other academic leaders say so. Like it needs to work in practice. The best way, you're not just testing in production, right? But like if these things don't work in production when there's basically multi-million-dollar bug bounties on chain constantly, then it doesn't matter how good they look on paper. And fundamentally, it doesn't matter. Like it'll matter initially if somebody convinces you their idea might work. Like that's going to sound really nice. And if they seem to be a very smart person, that's going to sound really nice. And Elizabeth Holmes sounded like a really smart, nice person when she launched Theranos, and that was vaporware. So I don't really care what one smart person tells me. I care if it works in production. I care if it has adoption. I care if there's a massive community behind it that is also users of the applications, that also secures the protocols by operating the nodes, and that community can scale itself. They can find more people, they can evangelize the network, they can tell its story. Otherwise, all you're doing is creating a centralized point of failure for a decentralized protocol by elevating somebody into a position of like king of the network. I think that's unbelievably unhealthy in the long term, while it's decent for short-term growth because people are used to having charismatic leaders behind these networks. And
yeah,
for Secret, like we've got plenty of charismatic leaders in the community, but none of us want to be a centralized point of failure for the network. John doesn't, I don't. None of the committee leaders you see on this call want to be points of failure. All we want to be is leverage points so Secret gets as big as it needs to be to solve this problem of like privacy by default, liquidity, and everything else that's on our roadmap and in our vision, right? Like that's what it is. If an enterprise somewhere says that they will decide to adopt our technology based on our ability to elect one person king in the network, then like we'll do it. But if we won't like it, this seems to be the healthier approach. And maybe my personal biases are starting to leak out a little bit here, and they're pretty obvious. I don't really reserve them, but yeah, this is certainly our approach.
Well, Tor, since have you on the line, what did you think of yesterday's debacle with Anchor Protocol? Then, in that case, obviously that was the big hype of an ICO going public, but you had one voice determining, and this is maybe leading to your bias of not having some philosopher at the top or philosophical person at the top, whatever you're referencing before, but. It just they shit the bed, and it was kind of an interesting experience because everybody in the community of Terra basically shat on the entire protocol after an hour. I don't know if you experienced or if you saw exactly what happened.
I was not participating, and I only saw the aftermath. And look, we've spoken with the Terra team. We know them well. Like we can trust that they mean well, and at the same time, these are extremely high stake launches that people are
Right.
trying to do that have no precedent. So even if they're trying to do things right, we've had our own challenges within our ecosystem. We've had our own existential crises and like extinction level events in our ecosystem, and we've survived them primarily because of the community that supported Secret Network. I would say that if because of the events of the Anchor launch, Terra loses the support of their community, then it becomes an existential event. But if the community comes together to somehow make it right and the right decisions are made, then maybe it just becomes a blip on a longer radar. I mean, I think for the kind of thing they're trying to do, they have a more centralized approach than we do. Like if they're also developing all of their own products on the chain, whereas we have more of a decentralized application ecosystem already. Like you start to avoid some of these challenges when you have more contributors, but they don't go away. Like I should probably look into a little bit more of what actually happened, but I'm not saying that like we are magically insulated against these types of occurrences. I am saying though that like you have to watch out for them anytime there's those kinds of central points of failure in your ecosystem or potential for central points of failure. It can happen at any time, even if you mean well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Junior, could you, just for people who didn't follow Anchor, because I personally didn't follow it at all, could you explain what incident you're talking about? I'm assuming something wrong happened with the launch of the Anchor token on Terra.
Yeah, so to my knowledge, I believe this is the first ICO to be for the small guys, or at least that was what it was advertised. Do Kwon, I believe his name is. He's the either the founder or somebody that's heading the ICO, but it was advertised as as a 5 cent minimum, or actually a 5 cent per coin launch. And there was a lot of discussion about where exactly, if is that fixed and is it based off a fixed supply. Nothing was actually cut and dry, at least from my perspective. I got in kind of late, about 48 hours before the launch, and even with all the the cutting corners and trying to figure out where to get the supply to participate, it still fell on its face. And when it came to this timer that Anchor Protocol had on their website, they had this timer going, and once it hit 0, nothing happened on Terra Station, which is where the swap was happening. And there's 2 other protocols that were also facilitating the swap.
Oh, it was like an IDO type, I guess ICO, but you put it in, and then you were supposed to get the tokens at a certain time.
Yeah, exactly. If you execute your contract or the swap on either of the stations or either of the protocols, you were essentially trying to get a piece of the pie. But the advertised price of 5 cents was what I think most of the community on Terra Network's Telegram channel was basically, in hopes for. That was far from it. When after the bug fix, there was some bot that was front running for about 50 minutes that they had to figure out. So it didn't even go live until about 55 minutes after the allotted time, or I should say the set time, which was 3 o'clock yesterday, 3 p.m. my time. I'm in Vietnam, so yeah, long. It was middle of the night for people in the States, basically. And so 50 minutes after the fact, they fixed the bug. The coin was added to Terra Station. Everybody tried to swap as much as they could, and somehow, some way, it went from 5 cents to $6.20, literally within a matter of seconds. So there's no communication of what's going on or what happened after the fact. It's kind of pretty sour. There's some people have pretty large holdings with not a whole lot to really, be proud of, I guess.
Basically, everything that could have gone wrong with the launch did go wrong.
Yeah, exactly. It's like this is a perfect example of what not to do. And maybe in future, the future of something on Secret Network, where just like the private auction, you can't see price. That potentially could be maybe an application where ICOs could launch on Secret Network, where you don't have this kind of ridiculous volatility of communication and you know, just I don't know, just for me it seemed like the bug was laying right in front of everyone, and you know, I should have spotted it. It was, you know, chasing whatever we were tracing. It clearly was a cat and mouse game. So
I
anyway,
gotcha. Yeah, that the whole like there's been a lot of launches of like tokens and NFTs and different things on Ethereum that have been like just totally effed over by like just bad actors who are trying to manipulate it, front run, just plain out like freeze up a contract and stop people from being able to interact with it properly. Yeah, it's a huge problem that Secret could potentially solve for sure. Um, unless anybody has any final thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, riddles, we're gonna wrap it up. So I'll just give you a few moments if you do. All right. Yeah, awesome. Thank you to the Secret. Hold on. Thank you to the secret team and the secret network members for coming out, and also the secret agents and everybody who's part of the community. Thank you for coming out and participating and answering our questions. Special thanks to John, Tor. Don't tell me. Hold on, Brendan. Oh no, there was somebody else. There's I don't know. I forgot somebody's name already. I'm sorry. I apologize. But yeah, thank you guys so much for coming out and answering questions to the sushi community. Uh, they can find more out about the secret network at what is your guys' website?
Come on over to SCRT.network. It's just like secret without the E's, and it's also the ticker symbol for secret. So SCRT.network. And you can go to chat.scrt.network. That's the link to our Discord.
All right, awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming out. Um, Yeah, and we will be having an AMA next week. There will be an announcement about that coming this week. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Stay safe.